Hello, 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 and welcome to the 13th episode of the Pure Michigan Properties Podcast. Before we get started, Shalonda, tell me something good, tell me the latest and greatest.
Well, here's the thing. Everything's good. Again, we woke up today, so take hold of that opportunity. But I have a motivational quote that I like to share. And for me, it's personal because at some point in my life, I wasn't propelling to reach the goals that I had set forth, and I didn't really understand why. But I was used to operating in those comfort zones. So the quote today is, great things never come from comfort zones. So step outside of the box and, like Nike, just do it.
Just do it. Simple as that.
And so, you guys, again, welcome to the 13th episode of the Pure Michigan Properties Podcast. I am Realtor and co-host, one of the co-hosts, Shalonda Wather, and I'm also joined with Realtor friend.
My name is Dylan Mostyn.
And you guys, we have a wonderful treat for you. We also have Brent Wilson joining us today. And so, Brent, thank you for joining us. And we're looking forward.
I'm the special treat?
Yeah, you're the treat.
We've been hyping you up for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're looking forward to your energy.
Oh, there's been a couple foreshadows, a couple sneak previews.
Yeah.
I like that. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. So today we're going to be talking all things lending. But before we get really into the episode, we want to hear a little bit about you, kind of go through your backstory, how you got here.
First of all, I love the quote. It reminds me of like one of my favorites because I think all humans, we are conditioned, our psyche wants to put us into this protective mode at all times and the comfort zone. You said, the one that you said, great things never come from the comfort zone. I had heard a different one, but very similar. It's like what's good for you rarely feels good. Like, because what feels good is, sitting on the couch.
Absolutely.
Right. What feels good is, smoking cigarettes for some people.
Okay.
It's not as big a thing, but you think about doing all the things that are good for you. Rarely do they actually feel good at the time. They feel good later when you can sit back and reflect. So I like that. What do you want to know about me?
Can I just tell you your backstory, how you got into where you are today?
How I got into the mortgage business, or over here, Silverline lending. I mean, I kind of got into the mortgage business right out of, it was kind of my first real profession. I guess before I was a mortgage loan officer. I went to Michigan State, graduated with a degree in HR of all things. And I've never done a single HR job in my entire life. I did minor in economics, and so I found those classes interesting. You kind of had to, in my degree, you had to have like something to go along with it. Economics was like the obvious thing. And then I kind of got a feeling as I was searching for jobs after college that I was probably going to go into sales because that's where it seemed like there was the most unlimited earning potential, where things weren't going to be capped. And it kind of fit my skill set. And so, I interviewed at several companies, and I ended up with, I tell people, my first job was I sold Coke and Pontiac. Not like
Coca-Cola?
Yeah, Coca-Cola.
There we go.
I worked for Coca-Cola, great company, Fortune 500 company in the beverage industry, and I would call on different stores, and I thought it was sweet. Had a base salary and a company car, and it really wasn't all that great. The base salary was very low. The company car was like a Pontiac Aztec.
Oh.
Do you even know what those are?
I've heard of them. I've never.
They look like a dust buster.
Right, exactly.
So as that was happening, a good friend of mine, friend from like 8 years old, he was a college roommate. He had gotten a job with Quicken Loans. He was doing some big growth at the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't really understand a lot about mortgages. I knew that I wasn't a big fan of math at the time, but I was decent at math. And but I did like finance and I liked economics. And then when he came home with a nice commission check, I was like, wow, like that's pretty impressive. And I think I'm better than you at sales. So I think I'm going to take the interview. He had been trying to get me to interview with the company for a long time.
Okay, so that was the motivational factor right there.
And so then I started doing that thing that a lot of college students do, where they really get married to that piece of paper, their degree, and they're like, oh, I got to find a job in this. So my goal was to get in with Quicken Loans and then become like an HR manager or a recruiter, something that tied directly to HR.
Okay.
Started writing loans, getting licensed in 30 states across the nation, and making a decent amount of money. Like I actually never gave HR a second thought. I just fell in love with the job, the role, the business. It was really cool, and honestly, like being kind of drawn to a sales career. To me, it was almost like recession proof. Now, there's definitely cycles in our business, as everybody knows.
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
But when there are cycles, like think about selling cars or a boat, like there's nothing somebody needs in a recession less than a boat.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
it seemed like houses were always going to be something people needed. Refinancing and access to your equity was always going to be something that people frequently need. And so it just seemed like a logical fit, and I ended up staying in it, and I've been in it 18 years now. I've never looked back.
Okay, nice.
Ended up leaving the company and then starting my own brokerage about 5 years ago, and so that's been a whole nother world of adventures and challenges.
sure.
But it's exciting, and we've had a lot of growth, and we've grown a lot of awesome relationships, like the two that I have with you guys.
Yeah.
And we love it, appreciate it. For the audience, recently, Silverline Linden was at the forefront of the deal and getting my client to the closing table, and it was an excellent opportunity and experience with you all. So thank you.
That was an awesome one, and I
That was
appreciate
an
the
awesome
compliment. I mean,
Absolutely.
that was a diamond in the rough, but we were able to make it happen with finding a 2-unit. So not only
Yes.
would we help somebody buy their first home, but they also became an investor at the
That's
same
right.
time. That was a big win. I agree.
Super big. And so you already kind of went over what led you into your current profession, but what does it mean to be a broker versus other loan officers and other aspects?
That's a good question. So a broker is a little bit different than like working at a direct lender or a bank. I kind of break it up into 3 categories. There's the big box lenders, like a Quicken Loans, a Loan Depot, maybe a Caliber. Those are like your big box lenders. And then there's banks. You got Citibank, Flagstar. There's a million banks.
Right.
And then there's I would also put credit unions into that bank category. Lots of red tape. They're usually limited and pretty rigid on the rules, and the guidelines are a little tight. And then there's the broker world, where we have the ability to do everything that they can do, but we're not tied to just one lender. We can shop. I'm signed up with 12 different accounts, so I can shop 12 different lenders with every single client to find them the absolute best price. But I also am not just shopping the price. I want to get them to the lender that's going to give the best experience and also the best option for their goals, because every individual has their own unique set of qualifications and goals, and
Right.
Correct.
every lender has their own different line of standards and product guidelines. So I'm also shopping for the one that's going to allow me to provide a solution. So it's kind of I get the best of both worlds, because I can work directly with banks, I can work with lenders, but I can also shop for the best price and the best options at the same time.
Oh, you heard that, guys? So
A lot went into it when I left a big company. I didn't just leave this VP role,
Right.
willy-nilly, shooting from the hip, not
Right.
knowing what my next move. I took a lot of time to think about it, and I could have gone to a bank, and I could have gone to another lender. I could have stayed there and continued to grow. It was a good company.
Exactly.
But I decided that the broker world is where I wanted to be.
And even like with my clients, like I'll tell them, they're like, oh, I already know someone. Like, let me just get you in front of Brent. Just have a 5-minute conversation. Simple as that. And then just feel it out from there. If you like it, then let's continue forward, right? But if you don't, then obviously, fine. But I just want you to at least explore that opportunity for them. Because you do a really good job for the people that you work with.
I appreciate that. I tried to, and like I said, I chose this career when I was in my early 20s, and I've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
I care about what I do, and
That's all right.
I chose this career for a reason and love doing it. I think that passion and curiosity comes through when I communicate with clients.
And so I like to say, even part of human resources, it's having those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what you're doing.
You're saying I'm using my degree?
I'm saying that you are absolutely
All right,
using your degree.
that's good.
Get your money's worth for sure.
Mom and Grandma will be proud of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so,
Let me ask you this. In your opinion, when do you think is the best time to purchase a property, and what economic trends should we be looking for?
That's a good one, and I'll tell you this, like, I don't really look at purchasing a house or a property as, I think, there's some economic factors you want to weigh, but to me, purchasing a house isn't like buying a set of golf clubs. Like, buying a set of golf clubs, that's like a purchase. That's a transaction. Like, buying a house is so much bigger.
Absolutely.
It's a goal. It's like a major life goal. It should be on like everybody's top 3 goals at some point to be a homeowner. And so it's got to be. I think you got to approach it like that.
Mm-hmm.
cool.
It's something that you got to be prepared for. You look more like what are your needs and your wants, and does that goal, is that something you're passionate about? Is it part of your purpose? And do you have enough wants and needs that align with that purpose? And then secondly, do you have the ability?
Yes.
So if you've got the ability and you're willing and able, that's the time to buy. Because I've now, I can tell you, if you want to talk economics, I would look at, the stability of the market, and I guess that probably comes a little easier for me now that I've been around so many different markets. Like I started my career in the mortgages in '05, and rates were really, really low, and we were kind of seeing a housing boom at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the reason for that housing boom versus like what we're seeing now? Because some people think we're in a boom and that the sky's going to fall tomorrow because we've just seen values continue to trend upward. But when things were trending upward, you had a pretty strong economy, but you also had some very reckless lending going on, where like credit availability was at an all-time high. If you had a pulse, you could get a loan. Stated income loans, stated asset loans, just write it on paper, didn't verify anything.
Right.
Now we've been 15 years without any of that in our business almost.
Right.
I think, it'll be 15 years next year.
Oh, wow.
With that, since, the SAFE Act was passed
Mm-hmm.
to kind of require licensing, to tighten up guidelines. So we don't have any real reason where I could see an overnight shift where values are just going to tank, because the big thing right now that is keeping values is inventory. Inventory is still low. So I would definitely factor some of these things if there's stability, but then again, it goes back to it being it's a goal.
Right.
So how stable are you?
True.
Are you stable? Are you responsible as an individual? Is this something that you want to work towards and continue to work towards? Because starting my career, it's funny, like I bought my first house within the first year that I really entered the workforce.
Okay.
And I've made a couple moves since then. And here's what I can tell you. I also started investing in my 401k at the same time. When you're talking about like the long term and building generational wealth and long-term wealth to make moves, what do they say? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time was today.
Or yesterday. What do you think about yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
So my point in saying that is like my 401k was started the same time in the same year. Actually, I just bought my first house a year after I started investing my 401k. And investing that entire time, never stopped. I can tell you my real estate portfolio was double the value of my 401k.
Oh.
In 20,
As it should be.
in 20 years.
As it should be.
Because I think people think that there are alternatives in different ways, but to me, it just comes down to you just wait it out. Because I bought in bad markets. I bought my first house in '06. There couldn't have been a worse time.
Wow.
And I don't have any regrets.
No regrets.
I just waited it out. Guess what? If you wait long enough and you find out a means, and I didn't even live in it very long. I had a renter cover the payment.
Oh.
Rented that one, bought another house.
But to that point, that's the thing about real estate, right? It's expected to appreciate in value over time.
Yeah, and you might have some down here, but if you everything works in cycles. I think too many people create roadblocks for themselves.
Yeah.
Or talk themselves out of it that I don't think are significant factors. You know, they think it's tougher, or that they just aren't ready. Like,
Or just
when are you
risk
ever
aspect.
having kids? That's a big decision too. Like,
Oh, yeah.
when are you ready to be a parent?
Right.
You're never really ready, but you figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like you have to do it before you think.
And then it goes
And I'm
back
not
to the
saying
quote.
again. I'm not saying that like people should just dive in and
Right.
everybody needs to buy
Oh,
a
no.
house.
Oh, no.
It comes down to your personal situation. Everybody's different. What are your goals? Your aspirations? Is it right for you?
Exactly.
Do you qualify?
Right, and those are the important questions you have to ask yourself in that situation leading up to if you're ready to do it or not. And I love the fact that you said, like, what are your goals? What are your intentions? Because even in, like, our buyer's consultations, that's the questions we do ask. And it helps us gauge where you are in your situation and your environment to if you are even able to buy a house. Because we might just sit down with you and say, maybe right now is not the best time. Let's get the game plan together, though,
Yeah.
for when you are ready.
Yep. That's the way I kind of approach every first phone call.
Yeah.
My job is to either get you pre-approved and have you confident and able to go out there and start shopping for a house this weekend. Next best thing is that we come up with a game plan to get you approved in the next 6
Absolutely.
months.
And so the main, I guess, important factors is, are you ready, willing, and able?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get started. And so let me ask you this, Brent, right? So obviously, if someone is purchasing with cash, they don't need lending services. So how should someone prepare to become ready, willing, and able?
I think the two biggest things is like it starts with awareness. And
Absolutely.
before you're aware about what the mortgage process is and what the qualifying factors are, be self-aware. And what I'm talking about is your credit. Like, you have to be aware of your own credit score.
Yep.
You need to know how a credit score works, how it's calculated. There's a lot of myths out there and misconceptions. It is, but I could talk about credit for an entire show.
Yes.
But it starts by being self-aware, and you should get some sort of self-monitoring.
That's right.
I know you can get it through, the bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. You can get it through like the Chase banking app. There's Credit Karma, and they're all a little different, and they all, have. It's not so much the score, because that's the first thing I hear is, hey, my score doesn't match the mortgage score. That's because they just base the points out of slightly different models.
Okay.
But a good score is a good score, and a bad score is a bad score. And is it
Correct.
improving? Like, you can track improvements. You can, become aware of it, and then take the steps to improve it. But I think credit is the biggest roadblock when it comes to getting people qualified or not qualified. And plus, you think about it, like in our education system, not to go down that road.
Oh no,
but
it's fine.
what do we
Let's talk
think
about it.
about all the things we do? We learn how to play with a parachute in gym class, but we never learned anything about credit,
Yeah,
Right.
True.
fractions, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we never learned about personal finance.
Right.
So a lot of people are just never really got that education from anywhere
Correct.
until they just boom, they're in the real world, and then it's a big wake up call. So start early, like get knowledgeable about your own credit score is a good spot to start.
And so part of my process during my buyer's consultation is, of course, select a great realtor, and then we discover, why their biggest why, the reason why they decided to begin their real estate journey. And I always say the next step is to gather all your financial documents, because I think for me personally, I budget. I put all my income and expense information into income statements and things like that. So once that's done, I also share, go on at least annualcreditreport.com to get your free annual credit report, so that at least now you know what your financial portfolio looks like to someone. You're able to kind of advocate for yourself in that regard. And so would you say that that's...
Well, I don't think you're too far off. I would tell you probably like you want to find out all the bells and whistles. What are going to check their boxes? What are their emotional goals? Like what's driving them? Is it an expanding family? Are they trying to get into that special school district? Is their current house just too small and they feel cramped? Like, that's where you want to focus your attention and efforts.
Correct.
And then I get it, and I like what you're doing. You're trying to almost pre-qualify them.
Absolutely, because I don't want to waste their time.
Yeah.
Nor do I want to waste your time.
But you'd be surprised how quickly like I can get that information. Then I don't want them to have a homework assignment right away. But it does show you how like serious they are when they can get the documents over. And
True.
I never want it to feel complicated. I like it to feel easy and stress-free, and I like them to walk away feeling like they at least got an education by talking to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because a knowledgeable client is a confident client. A
Yeah.
confident client is going to make decisions, and an unconfident client is not going to be ready.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
So I want to foster a sense of confidence, and part of that is just implementing strategy too, for
100%.
putting the strategy and the plan and the program together and walking them through step by step so they know exactly how we're going to make this happen, what it's going to look like, what we're going to need on their end, what they can expect from me, and all the numbers in between.
Gotcha.
But like they're going to talk to me. I'm going to do a soft credit pull anyway.
Okay.
Right.
We're going to walk through it together. I can send them a copy, but I mean, I think you got a pretty good process down for intro
That works.
to get started.
So
And
you
so-
kind of talked
sorry.
about it, but kind of like talk about like the process from A to Z of like the whole home buying and like on your end from the lending aspect.
A to Z, the whole A to Z.
From the
We can skip
time
a
you
few
pick up
letters,
the phone.
but
So
Tell us when you pick up the phone and you have a conversation.
a lot like you. The first thing is I want to find out where are they at mentally. Like, how long have they been looking? Like, so one of the questions I'll say is, have you just started the process? I'll say, do you have a home in mind?
okay.
Or are you just starting to get a feel for what this whole process is like? That kind of lets me know where they're at mentally. But I really want to uncover the needs, the wants, not so much like how many bedrooms and the square footage, but I do want to know like what cities they're thinking about, where they're from now, how long they've been thinking about this. Because a lot of times I can also figure out through, just being a curious person, I can figure out what's been holding them back. Like, why now? Why is now the time that we're starting this process and not 6 months ago or 3 years ago? Like, why right now are we speaking? And you can usually get a lot of the story right there.
Yeah.
So I'll genuinely, I like to mix my approach of talking through goals while asking some qualifying question, like how long have you lived at your current home? I'm filling it out as we're going. I prefer to do that versus sending them a form to fill out. Now there are times where things get busy and I'll have them do that and then we'll set an appointment just for scheduling purposes, but I prefer to like fill everything out for them. And so it's not a lot of work on the client's part. It's basically a 15 to 20 minute conversation.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna I do what I call it.
That's
It's
much better than our
my
consultation.
my pre-approval is like a 2-step process. The first is like conversational, and I'm gonna get all their income information out verbally. Do the math on paper. I'm gonna see how much they have in their savings account, what type of down payment they're looking to put down. We're gonna review credit together, and then talk about their price range. And then what I'll do is I'll kind of get a feel for what they qualify for. But before that, they usually know either what a payment goal or they have a purchase price that they've already determined.
Okay.
And so I will show them how to accomplish what they're looking to do first and foremost. And then I'll show them, hey, by the way, you may qualify for a house up to this. I don't want you to do anything you're uncomfortable with, but I also don't want you to see something you're in love with and not know if you can have it.
Oh, that makes sense.
So and then I go over those numbers as well. So they kind of have a range of like, here's what I think I want, here's what I may want, here's what's possible.
Gosh. Okay, so it's like options in a way.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about through a couple options, and then we're going to discuss payment.
Yeah.
And we're going to go over like taxes and insurance and some of the basics. And I'm going to show them their payment, their cash to close, what they can expect.
Right.
And then the second part of the process is now collecting all the documents to back up what we just talked about.
Indeed. And so let me ask you this real quick before you move forward. In your opinion, is it better that someone knows, like have a monthly payment, in mind versus just a range that they like to shop in?
Yeah, I think it's probably better for them. Because if they haven't done any math or done any, and I know like every website by now has like a mortgage calculator of some sort,
Correct.
of varying degrees of accuracy, but I think that's the bit what it comes down to is the payment. Like that's what they're going to pay every month. The purchase price is just what's on the sign.
Right.
But it comes down to the monthly payment. So
That's what I tell
I
them.
can reverse qualify them by
Okay.
doing monthly payment. And I do that a lot. I'll talk about the payment that they're comfortable with, and I'll reverse that into a finance calculator. And I can take that payment, the current rate they would qualify for, and then that will give me the purchase price
Right.
that's going to accomplish that payment.
Indeed.
Because that's what I tell a lot of my people. I was like, don't really look at the purchase price or the sales price. It's more about the monthly payment. Can you take that in and still have the same lifestyle that you live? Is that going to affect it? Do you have to lower some other bills, or is that comfortable for you? Because at the end of the day, it's that monthly payment that's going to hit. That's important. Obviously, like a sales price is important as well,
Right.
but the monthly payment's more digestible to someone rather
Well,
Yeah.
than a number.
and I'll say this because the conversations that I typically have with buyers, they're already looking on Zillow and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we know that Zillow is relevant, but it's not accurate. And so, they'll have a monthly payment and they're looking in this price range, and sometimes that's not where they qualify, what they qualify for. So what is maybe a tip or advice besides, hey, reach out and speak to your local realtor first?
Well, I think the next steps is choosing your mortgage lender.
Okay.
And I think that's a decision that doesn't always get made properly.
Okay.
Like, there's so many sources, there's large online lenders, but dude, you're really going into the casino there,
Yeah.
and you're calling an 800 number, and
Hoping for the
you're
best.
hoping you get a good one.
Yeah.
Like, I would be working, like, the loan officer's gonna make or break how your process goes.
Especially with your biggest
Totally.
asset in life, are you
Yeah,
really wanting to
absolutely.
go off of hope?
And so I think that's huge. You got to work with a trusted resource. And one quick way to tell if you have a trusted resource on the phone or not is listen to what they're asking you. How interested are they? Are they asking questions about your goals and your life and how you want to put this together? Are they excited when you respond? Is it like
Yep.
conversational, or are they just like grilling you? How much do you make? Are you hourly or salary? How much do you have in the bank? And just making it all about the qualifications.
Right.
If you're not getting an education throughout the conversation, you don't have a trusted resource on the phone. And I would seek a second opinion.
Oh, for sure.
Not just about getting the best price, it's about getting the best man or woman in your corner
Yeah, absolutely.
that's going to take care of your best interests.
That's so important.
And plus, like that's also going to be how you get educated and become more confident in the process, is having a trusted resource in your corner.
Definitely. I mean, I tell people when I'm meeting with them, I'm like, you're getting a team of people who you want to trust, right? To get you through this process, to get you from A to Z. And
There's a lot of bad information out there.
Get you
And,
down.
and you're talking about the computer and
Yeah.
Zillow, like all the things people are Googling, like,
The era of Wikipedia where anyone
yeah.
can post anything.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
like false information out there.
And so, connect with a respected professional who you can trust.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I don't think the real estate transaction will ever not be like a personal
Oh.
face-to-face relationship business.
That's
right.
I mean,
I
there's
totally agree.
things out there that can make the process easier, but
Yeah.
you're always going to be much better off if you've got somebody who's giving it that personal touch.
100%.
Imagine AI selling you.
Oh my God. Yeah, so any other tips, tricks, advice that you would give to someone who's looking to purchase a home on the lending side?
Yeah, well, I think that the hardest thing is to get started. And I forgot what I was going to say now. I had this whole topic, and then I went back to like, no, I'll think of it.
Okay.
Give me a quick pause.
Yeah, for sure.
I was going to talk about, what did I say the first time?
Whatever you have to share. Doesn't matter. We're gonna cut this part.
Oh, well, I assume so. I was so
We just leave
old.
it, yeah. We're just leaving this in. This
I
is the whole
forgot.
episode.
I thought you had pulled it.
Oh, no.
All right, hit me again with the question.
So, to end off the episode, tell the audience members some tips, tricks, and advice that they should know that are crucial for buying a home on the lending aspect of the process.
Got it. On the lending, I think, again, it goes back to, monitoring your own credit and having awareness.
Yeah.
And if you're not really sure where to start, you can never go wrong. You can never save too much money.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Oh, for sure.
having a
Yeah.
savings established is huge, and that's just a first responsible step. So having a savings account established and getting those habits built, even before you're ready to initially take the leap, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
those are two things that are going to help you no matter what. And remember, when you're buying a house, like, you're not buying the house for anybody except yourself and your long-term goals.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think people talk to too many people and get too many opinions. And I can tell you, like, how many times have you talked yourself out of doing the right thing just because that doubt voice creeps in? Or
Right.
you talk to negative people. Like, you want to talk to somebody about whether or not you should buy a house, don't talk to your parent. Talk to somebody who just bought one.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
How
What did
their
they go
experience
through?
was.
Like, what were some things they recommend? I mean, if you talk to people who are not homeowners or not purchasing a home and have no plan to, you're probably going to get a
That's
perspective that keeps you right where you're at.
Exactly.
And that's why you
Really
surround
getting one
yourself.
side of the story.
Nobody's going to
yeah.
accomplish your goals for you. So
Yeah.
Exactly. Ooh, I
And
love
surrounding
that.
yourself, or for anyone, surrounding yourself with people like-minded, things like that. I think that's always a plus.
yeah, the goal should be, how do we accomplish this? How do we make it as cost effective as possible? But
Mhm.
it should not be like, is my timing perfect?
Mhm.
Because like your timing's never going to be perfect, and you'll never know until it's in the past anyway.
Right. I like what you said. You're never going to be fully prepared. You just have to kind of
Yeah.
And
get the ball rolling.
It's not like a door. Like most decisions in life, there's very few doors you can walk through that you can never go back and then choose another one. Like,
Right.
you buy a house,
That's right.
you can always turn around and sell it.
One thing
Like,
we never get
it's
back
not
is
permanent.
time either.
You can,
so-
if you move or you get a job promotion, like
Yep.
people say stuff like, "Well, I just don't know if I can afford this. What if I lose my job?" I'm like, if you lose your job, you got other issues.
Right. That
Life's
yeah.
you got that's a problem no matter if you have a house or not.
Right.
Like, you're gonna have to get back on your feet. But
Exactly.
whether or not you own a home doesn't really change anything.
Mhm.
Like, life's gonna be tough if you get hit
yeah.
with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
So-
would agree.
That's like, I know people sign up and do a 30-year fixed mortgage.
Yeah.
Nothing in life happens in 30-year increments. Like,
Right.
you're probably going to make changes to that mortgage or to your home and your lifestyle
Yeah.
on average every 5 to 7 years.
Right. It's not set in stone.
Yeah.
It's all flexible, kind of, in that regards to the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you mentioned earlier, you said something about refinance. So just, you're not married to your mortgage. And I think that's important for individuals to know as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you can save hundreds of dollars down the line, but what you can't do is if rates drop and you're trying to wait for that perfect time to buy, prices are just going to go up.
Oh, yeah.
Because when rates go down, we always see a flood of buyers.
Yeah.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So as you wrap up this episode, Brent, how do they get in contact with you if they want to learn a little bit more?
You can visit me at my office. You can go to silverlinelending.com. You can even call my cell phone. It's 810-275-2728. I bet you have the skills to put that right on
Oh, I
there.
can do that for you. I got you.
I knew
Don't
it.
worry. Shalonda, how do they get in contact with you?
Well, as always, you can reach me at 586-339-8321 or by emailing me at Shalonda, spelled SHALAUNDA, @kw.com. And so, Brent, let's hear from you. Tell them how to reach out to you.
Me or Dylan?
Dylan.
Oh.
Did I say Brent?
Brent.
Brent, I'm sorry.
Brent, go
Dylan.
I'll
again.
go again.
That's because you're next to this.
The best way to get in contact with me is through my cell phone number. You can call or text to 248-891-9860, or you can go on my website, dylanmoston.com. spelled D-Y-L-A-N, Mostyn, MOSTYN.com. Go on there, get more information. We want to thank Brent for being on here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate
was a
it.
pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
You always come with a lot of energy, Brent.
So, thank you guys for joining us on this episode of the Pure Michigan Properties Podcast, episode 13, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.